Hey, what's going on everyone? This is Jerry from Epic Boss Fight, and in today's video we'll be outlining a few strategies to help take down the Godskin duo in Elden Ring. Now for seasoned Elden Ring fans, these two guys are one of their favorite, I'm sure, giving you twice the pain for the price of one. Now this is a mandatory boss fight that players must defeat in order to progress in the game. The Godskin duo is going to consist of two formidable opponents, the Godskin Apostle and the Godskin Noble, who must be fought simultaneously, with both of them having the ability to resurrect the other if it's defeated. This makes the fight extremely challenging even for experienced players. And to make matters worse, the collective health bar labeled Godskin Duo at the bottom of the screen can only be depleted by damaging either of the individual health bars, because, one health bar just isn't enough, of course. And even if you manage to deplete both health bars, the encounter is not over, as one or both bosses will reappear until the collective health bar is depleted. The Godskin duo can be found in the Dragon Temple Transept Site of Grace in Crumbling Farum Azula, just north of the boss arena's Fog Gate. However, getting there is no easy feat, as there are two banished knights between the Site of Grace and the boss door, making the boss run a little bit risky. But in this guide, we will go over necessary battle preparations, boss offenses and defenses, and provide strategies for different character builds. So with that, let's go ahead and jump on into it. So when it comes to taking on the Godskin duo, it's going to be important to be well prepared for the battle. First, I'm going to recommend that your character be at least 110 to 120. I mean, by the time you get to this point in the game, you should be around there anyway, especially after facing the Fire Giant. Also, with weapons, you're going to want to have them leveled up to about plus 18 at least. Both the Godskin Apostle and the Godskin Noble have the lowest resistance to bleed and sleep, so it's worth considering an offensive build that takes advantage of these vulnerabilities. In this guide, we'll discuss in more detail how to use sleep as well to your advantage, as well as some other offensive strategies. It's also important to note that the bosses are vulnerable to poison, scarlet rot, and frostbite. However, they have high defense against fire and holy, so it's best to just avoid using these attacks. Additionally, they do deal high slash, pierce, and fire damage, so preparing your equipment accordingly for defending against these attacks is crucial. Given that you'll be facing two bosses at once, using a partner is highly recommended, and this will keep one of the bosses distracted. Preparing a Spirit Ash with high defenses can go a long way, and I would personally recommend using Mimic Tier, which I feel can be really effective if it's properly leveled. And now, with battle preparations out of the way, let's go ahead and start discussing a few strategies you could use to take these guys down. Alright, so to overcome these two bozos, I'm going to go over 3 different methods that you can choose depending on your character's build. But before I do that, one general tip first that's going to be really helpful no matter what. The pillars lined up in the arena are most definitely your ally. Use them to gain space to heal, or to separate the Godskins and fight them one at a time. Probably most importantly though, you can hop on top of an already destroyed pillar to avoid getting hit during the Godskin Noble's Godskin Wheel, which can deal a significant amount of damage if you're caught in its path. Now the first strategy we'll go over is the sleep strategy. It's going to involve using sleep-inducing items such as sleep bone arrows, sleep pots, soporific grease, not sure if I pronounced that correctly, or Sword of St. Trina. Now you're going to use these to put one boss to sleep while you deal with the other. Once one boss is dead, wake up the sleeping boss and then let them resummon their companion before putting them to sleep again. This strategy can be combined with the use of a Mimic Tier with sleep pots, which is going to save the pots for future attempts in use. Now I personally didn't go this route. For some reason I wasn't good at throwing sleep pots or pots in general. Eventually this battle just became personal for me too. I was getting so frustrated that I just kind of brute forced my way through it with my magic and my blade. But I have heard that this strategy is super effective from a lot of players, so if you want to give it a shot, go for it. The second strategy is going to make use of the Hoarfrost Stomp Ash of War. What you're going to want to do is imbue your weapon with Hoarfrost Stomp, and then summon your most powerful Spirit Ash or Mimic Tier to distract one of the bosses. Once one of the Godskins is getting distracted from whichever Spirit Ash you're using, then you're going to want to lure the other one over to one of the pillars a little bit further away. You're going to want to dance around the pillar a little bit just to make sure that you avoid any of its attacks, but then just go ahead and keep spamming Hoarfrost Stomp. Now this ability, the Hoarfrost Stomp ability, will actually deal damage through the pillar, so as long as you kind of continue avoiding his attacks, you'll actually be able to deal some decent damage to the boss. Now, full disclosure, I didn't use the Hoarfrost Stomp strategy. I just didn't have that Ash of War in my inventory, didn't feel like tracking it down. So unfortunately, I just don't have any good gameplay footage illustrating that, but I'm sure you guys can figure it out. I don't think that method is that complicated. Now, you could also combine this strategy with the sleep strategy that I outlined a little bit ago, but in that case, you're going to want to refrain from using summons to avoid waking up any sleeping Godskin. Now, the third and final strategy is one that I basically took advantage of myself, and this is going to apply for magic in ranged users. So if you have a magic build, you can use Common Azure, or Common in my case. For ranged users, you can use a bow loaded with sleep arrows to kind of make the fight a little bit easier. Bait the noble away from the apostle and begin to fire around 5 arrows until that sleep sets in, but do not attack the noble. What you want to do then is proceed to attempt to put the apostle to sleep close to the noble, and after both Godskins are asleep, cast Terra Magica and drink a Wondrous Physic. Make sure that you put together a Wondrous Physic that enhances your magic ability. That's what I did. Just try to take most advantage of your intelligence and your attack. You can try to line up the Godskin so that when you cast the spell, you have the potential to hit both of them at the same time, which can be super effective. Alright guys, so there it is. Defeating the Godskin duo boss in Elden Ring is no small feat, and it's going to require some careful planning and execution. But to summarize some of the strategies that we discussed in this video, number 1, there's going to be the sleep strategy. It involves using, again, sleep-inducing items to put one of them to sleep while you deal with the other, and then just rinse and repeat until their collective health bar is depleted. The second one was the Hoarfrost Stomp strategy. It's going to involve imbuing your weapon with the Hoarfrost Stomp Ash of War, and then just use that to deal damage through the pillars while distracting one boss with the powerful Spirit Ash of your choice. And then the third strategy was for magic and ranged users, where if you have magic build, you can use maybe Comet Azure or Comet. If you're a ranged player, you can use sleep arrows to put both bosses to sleep. If you cast Terra Magica along with some sort of Wondrous Physic that enhances your magic attack, you can deal then some pretty massive damage to either the Godskins. Keep in mind that the Godskin duo boss fight is notoriously difficult, and it's going to require some patience, some perseverance, and a willingness to adapt your strategy on the fly. Don't be afraid to experiment with different approaches and tactics until you find what works best for you. Remember that the most important thing is to stay calm and focused during the fight. Take breaks if you're feeling frustrated or overwhelmed. Don't go breaking any controllers, please. If you need any help, you're always welcome to comment on the video. Please let me know what you think of these videos, by the way, and if you have any questions on defeating the boss fight, I always check the comments pretty regularly and can lend a hand if needed. And with enough determination and skill, I guarantee you'll emerge victorious and claim the spoils of this challenging battle. For those that made it to the end of this video, thank you guys for watching, thank you for subscribing, and I'll catch you on the next one here on Epic Boss Fight.